Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're there. I was having a lot of tech issues getting on my computer. I'm actually going to try to turn my computer back on right now. But I'm here on my iPhone. Jennifer is watching. I see some people are watching me. Okay, great. Tina, hi. Michelle, Michelin, Chrissy's there. Okay, I'm so happy to see you guys. Hi, Justine. Hi, Anne. As those of you that know me well, hi, Ildiko. Hi, Joanna. It's so great to see all of you. Those of you that know me well know that tech is not my strong point. And I was trying for the first time to do a live through my computer, and it didn't work. So that's why I'm a couple minutes late. Oh, so good to see you guys. Leah, Swati, Nicole, Catherine, Vesica Pisces, Marcy, Gloria, so many people I know and love, and so many new people. It's so good to be here with all of you. Hopefully the tech will work. Hopefully my phone will make it through this. Since I didn't charge it beforehand, I thought I was going to be on my computer. I want to say that I'm always so happy to be connected in here and to be connected into this community. But in this moment in time, even more so. It just feels so important to come together and to be able to connect and to be with each other. Oh, Tina's listening from the dentist's office. So I know that this is a loaded question, but it's one that I really want to know. How are you guys doing? You don't have to type everything in around how you're doing, but let me know. Let me know if you want to type a little bit. How are things going? Hey, Regina. Hi, Corey. Hi, Joni. Okay, so as more people are coming in, I'm going to wait a few moments. Hi, Siobhan. Hi, Kara. I'll let everyone get in here. Hey, Jamie. Hi, Swati. Hey, Amelia in Chile. Hi, Jasmine. Oh, so many people I love and know. Joni's feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, Siobhan is scared. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that today. Raven is good, but unsure with regard to your work. Yeah, you're not alone there, Raven. Hearing that a lot. Kim, you're feeling more grounded than earlier this week. I'm so happy to hear it. Yeah, Makita, even though you don't usually have anxiety, there's some for sure. Yeah, that's not uncommon, totally normal. Kara's working around the clock to change the business model online. Yeah, yoga studio, and I'm glad you're bringing that up, Kara, because that also, I've been hearing a lot of that. Hey, Christina, exhausted. Yeah, I haven't been sleeping as well as I could either. Holding space for a lot of people. Hi, Deborah. Oh, Christina's feeling good today. Yay! Gladys is eating all the feelings. Yeah, we've been eating a lot here too. Hey, Viv. Marcy, alternating between surrender and anxiety. Yeah, it's like going back and forth. Cho, stressed, and your husband is freaking out. We're going to talk about that too, because sometimes we can be calm, but those around us not so much. AJ, guilt at your current ease of comfort. Yeah. Good. I'm going to go through later and read through all of these. I promised you guys, Sandra's on fire. I promised you guys 90 minutes and I want to keep to it. And I have so much to share with you all today. So I'm going to dive in. So you guys know we're here today to take a look at how to support your clients' fears and grief and anxieties and blocks during tough times, and how to coach yourself and hold yourself through it too. So Like I said, we'll be together 90 minutes, but we're going to move quickly because I have a lot to share. And I just wanted to share briefly why I decided to put this together, though of course you all know. But it feels important to share. I wanted to put this together because this is affecting everyone, all of us, whether you're older, you're younger, whether you're immunocompromised or totally healthy, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, whether you're a business owner or work in an office or have another kind of job or you don't do paid work, whether you're spiritual, you're not spiritual, right? Even if you yourself aren't feeling worry or dread or fear or sadness or anger, I am positive that there are people around you, your clients or your family or whoever it is that are, right? And what I really believe, and I think because you're here, you believe this too, is that part of us collectively being able to overcome this virus, it's of course about all of the things that we're doing to not spread the disease, all of the things. But the other part of this is for us to all keep our psychic health and our overall well-being, right? And those of us that are coaches, medical workers, practitioners, whoever you are, however you're showing up, parent, part of our job is to hold that space for others, for them to feel at least a little bit more at peace, for them to be able to manage their fears, their anxieties. It's not just for that particular person. If there was ever a moment where the butterfly effect was happening and a ripple effect was happening, it is now. So when we serve our clients and hold space for them, that's allowing them to go out and hold space for others and hold space for others and hold space for others. So that's why we're here. This is the part that I feel I can play, supporting you all in supporting yourselves as well as those that you're holding space for. This entire week and a half, as I've been connecting with my private clients and as I've been connecting with the groups that I lead, we've had our topics at hand, whatever I've been teaching or, whatever we've been looking at in the one-on-one work, but in one way or another, this has come up, right? How people are feeling. It's just in the air. And so I wanted to give you guys a lot of tools and foundational ideas and strategies to be able to support your own clients. And we're also going to be doing a little bit of our own inner work today on all of this too. If there was ever a moment to step into full leadership with your clients and with your mastery in holding transformational space, in holding healing space, in supporting others to rise up and to be empowered in their highest self, now is the moment, right? Every moment always counts. But now is a moment that I believe counts even more. It counts for you, for your clients, but like I said a few moments ago, it counts for the world. So thank you, really thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. If you're here today, I know that you are here to be able to hold that incredible space for yourself and others and to do that ripple effect work. Okay, so we're going to be covering, like I said, tools, strategies, and foundational principles to help you support either one-on-ones in individual settings or in your group settings, to help those you support with all that's coming up right now: fear, anxiety, grief, confusion, and more. Of course, to cover all of that, we need like 5 days, but we're going to do it in 90 minutes. So this training isn't anywhere near a full and done, but I promise you're going to be taking a ton of notes and have a lot to walk away with. Now, before we even get to the specific topics and strategies that I want to look at today, there are a few things that I want to be really clear on, kind of like foundational pieces here before we speak specifically about fear, beliefs, grief, anger, all the things. Number one, in order to support others in this, you guys already know this, but I'm going to say this again. In order to support others with all of this, your clients, those around you, your teams, you need to be also doing your own work. Even if you're a veteran, and most of the people that are in my community are veterans when it comes to your own inner work, right? Like you've done so much. Even if you're a veteran, now is a moment to continue to go deeper, working with your fears, working with your shadows, working with your triggers, working with your patterns. You need to keep that up now. Because if you are not coming from a grounded place, if you are in your own triggers or can be easily triggered, there's no way that you can hold the space for others, right? So that's number one. Really want to encourage you to be doing your own inner work. And of course, we'll be doing some of that today as well. Number two, and this is really important. You need to be able to do what we call in sacred depths, deep listening. When others are in their fear, and in their shadows and in their grief and in their beliefs, all of that. Now, of course, right, that's obvious. Of course, we need to listen deeply, but let me explain what I mean by this. This is really important. Everybody, no matter how great of a practitioner you are, when you are listening to other people, to your clients, to your team members, whatever they are, you're listening with filters. We all have filters. What are our filters? Our filters are our whole history that we come to that conversation with. Everything that we've learned in life up until now, all of the wisdom that we've acquired, all of the experiences we've been through, the trauma that we've been through, the heartache we've been through, the wonderful things we've been through, and the privileges that we have. So we've got these filters, and we listen. When we're not aware of the filters, we listen through the filters. In order to really hear what somebody else is saying, in order to really, really get it, we need to check our filters at the door. We don't get rid of our filters. That's not helpful, but we need to be aware of those filters. If we're not aware of the filters, then we're not going to really hear what our client is saying, or we're going to make assumptions that aren't true, or we're not going to be able to fully get it. So let me give you an example for, this pandemic that we're in, how that might show up. So first of all, a lot of our filters, as I said earlier, have to do with our particular privileges, right? So if, for example, you're healthy, you're not immunocompromised, you're not of a certain age that's more at risk for this disease, you may have certain filters that you listen through, or not. Maybe you're not as worried about certain things, right? If you're someone that has money in the bank, that's a filter too. You may not, if you don't check that filter, you may not be able to fully hear someone that doesn't have money in the bank right now, right? That's a big fear that's happening right now. Examples of other kinds of filters are your beliefs, right? If you're not in a place of fear right now, but a client is, it's fine that you're not in fear, but you need to check that filter. Sometimes our limiting beliefs can be filters, right? If we are scared that the economy is going to tank, but we've got a client in front of us who has no fears about that at all, we may not be able to fully hear that client and what her particular concerns are unless we check our own filter around that belief of the economy. Right? So we want to be checking all of our filters. I'll give you guys an example of this. I was on a group call the other day, and we were looking at some fears, and we were working a little bit with that on the pandemic. And one of the women on the call, she raised her hand and she said, I'm not scared at all right now. Right? Now, if I were not checking my own filters, I might have not heard her in a particular way or thought like, oh, she's just, she's bypassing her own fears or whatever it is. But because I had my own filters checked, and because I know this woman a little bit, she's a student of mine, and I'm able to really see her. I know I said to her, like, for someone else, I may be asking a little bit more here, but you're really a fifth dimension type person. Like, you're someone who sees the big picture in this kind of Aquarian way. And so it makes sense that you may not be feeling the fears. You have the concerns, you can see what's happening, but you're not feeling the fears. And she paused in that moment and she said, "Thank you so much. I feel so seen right now," right? And it was because I checked that filter. I've got some other filters that I need to check. For example, I'm very concerned right now, you guys. I'm very concerned about my parents' health in all of this, right? I can't let that filter get in the way of if I'm listening to someone who doesn't have that fear or who has a fear that's different, right? So take a moment and just notice for yourself, what are some of your own filters, not that you want to get rid of, but that are important to check when you're with your clients or when you're with others so that you can fully hear them. It might be a privilege, right? Like we said before, if you're healthy, if you have money in the bank, you have kids, you don't have kids. It might be beliefs about the economy, about any kind of beliefs that you have, right? So what are some of the filters that you know that you need to check in order to be able to really hear your clients and whatever is coming up for them in this pandemic? And I'd love if you guys could share that a little bit. What are you seeing are some of your top filters that are important for you to check? You guys with me on this? Let me know. Let me know if you have a question too. All right, I'll wait for you guys to write in some filters. Chrissy is saying, "I believe that you can always make money no matter what." That's such a great example of a filter, right? So that belief is great. Like, yay, Chrissy, that you have that, right? You believe that you can always make money no matter what. But what's important here is that you don't want to approach your clients in case they have a different fear. You're not going to be able to hear them if they are scared about that, right? Kimberly is saying one of her filters is fear of financial recession, right? It's not about getting rid of that. And it's not even that fear is wrong, but you want to clean your ears. You want to check them before you approach your clients, because you may have a client that doesn't have that fear at all, right? Look at one more here, right? Justine, "I feel secure." I'm so happy that you feel secure right now, Justine, right? And that's great. And we actually want to bring that sense of security to our clients. But the only way that we can do it is if we are aware that we have that filter and that our client may not have that filter, may not have that experience right now. Yeah, there's so many great filters here. Good. Okay, so part of this deep listening, and one of the foundational skills that we talk about in Sacred Depths that helps you listen deeply are to check your filters. When you check your filters, you are able to see and hear your clients. Seeing and hearing your clients is one of the most important things that you can do, because that's what people ultimately want the most, is to be seen and heard. The other thing that people want the most, whether they realize it or not, is to be loved. And it's a side mention here, but an important one in our discussion today. Always, 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 a little love goes a long way, right? Because again, as human beings, we have this need to be loved. But especially during this pandemic, loving up on your clients, really bringing that energy of love and your communities and all of that, so important. Okay, so those are kind of like the foundational pieces that we are working on here. And now let's look at some of the specific topics. Yeah, and Viv, I've got, similar to you, I've got elderly parents and I live far away. It's an important filter to check, right? Okay, good. So moving along quickly here, let's talk about working with client fear. I'm going to give you guys a crash course on this. What are some of, you guys have already been writing in some of the fears that you're dealing with or your clients are working with. Here's a big mistake that people make when it comes to working with fear. The big mistake that's made is that a lot of times coaches feel like it's time to slay the fear, like it's time to fight the fear, like it's good thing to ignore the fear. A lot of times people approach their fear, their client's fear, as let's demonize the fear, let's make it the enemy, right? We don't want to do this. We don't want to slay the fear. We don't want to battle the fear. We don't want to fight the fear. We don't want to ignore the fear. We don't want to run away from the fear. We don't want to demonize the fear. And we don't want to belittle the fear. What's belittling the fear? Well, belittling the fear is if someone says, oh my gosh, I'm so scared that I'm going to get sick and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And you, as the coach, as the practitioner, say, there's no need to worry. You are not immunocompromised, or you're not in an area where it's spreading, or you just have to believe that you're going to be healthy and you'll be healthy. Or you just have to pray, or, whatever it is, right? That's called spiritual bypassing. And what it does is it belittles the fear. When you do something like spiritual bypassing or trying to fight the fear or eradicate the fear or anything like that, it may help your client for like a second, right? Like for a moment, they may feel calmed down. But when you spiritually bypass or try to fight the fear or tell them the fear isn't valid, pretty soon, even if they do feel calm momentarily, their fear is just going to get bigger. Not only will the fear get bigger, but they'll probably feel ashamed that they have the fear in the first place, and they're going to feel alone in it. So a lot of coaches and practitioners and facilitators and holders of space are very well-meaning in trying to minimize fears of clients, or say, it's not such a big deal, it's okay, it'll pass, or let's just, believe, or you've got this, let's slay this fear, all best intentions. But the truth is that that's not effective. It usually makes it worse. Instead, what you want to do when you're working with a client that is having a lot of fear with this pandemic, whatever the fear is you want to do what in Sacred Depths we call befriending your fear. What is befriending your fear? Well, it is what it means, the words say. It's making friends with the fear. Instead of running away from it, instead of just sweeping it under the rug, instead of saying it's not a big deal, instead of vilifying it, instead of making it the enemy, instead of making the fear wrong, all of those things, you actually want to make friends with it. You want to get to know it. You want to create sacred space to understand it and to explore it. When you do this, when you lean into the fear, when you make friends with the fear, when you create the space to see what it actually is, that's when you're actually bringing it out of the blind spot and into the light, and you can work with it. You can work with it. And even then, when you work with it, it's not about eradicating the fear. I know that sounds strange, right? Because we're taught to think we want to just get over our fears. It's actually not about eradicating it. It's about learning how to move forward, even though the fear is there, right? I have a lot of fears, but I have built up a resilience with a lot of them so that I can see them, I can feel them, but I can still move forward anyway. I can still feel peace alongside the fear. I can still take action. And that's what we want to do when we befriend our fears. I always tell the story when I'm teaching this concept in Sacred Depths, and I'll share it briefly with you guys here because I love it. I tell this story that I saw on Sesame Street when I was like 4 years old, but it's always stuck with me, and it's a great illustration of the importance of befriending your fear. So quickly, what it is there's this cartoon, and the cartoon was the sun and the wind were having a conversation, and they saw a man walking down the street, and he was wearing a raincoat and a hat, and the wind says to the sun, "I bet you I'm stronger than you, sun. I bet you that I can get the hat and the coat off the man way more quickly than you can." And the sun says, "Okay, I'm game. I think I can do it better than you. Let's see." And so the wind goes first, and the wind blows and blows and blows, right? Hoping to blow that hat off the man, hoping to blow the raincoat off the man. But instead, what happens is the man, feeling all the wind coming, wanting to hold on to his hat and his coat, he clings on even tighter to both, right? The wind couldn't do it. It fought and it fought, right? Tried to slay, right? Couldn't get that hat and that coat off the man. And then the sun goes. And the sun has a very different strategy. The sun's strategy is to shine its love, to just shine and get warmer and just be with the man and get warmer and warmer and warmer until the man gets so hot that of his own choosing, his own decision, he takes off the hat and the coat on his own. This story has always stuck with me. It's been so powerful in my psyche. And again, it's because I think it just illustrates this befriend your fear concept so beautifully, right? When we try to fight something, it gets stronger, it gets bigger, it gets harsher. But when we make friends with it, that's when it doesn't have control over us anymore. Okay. So that being said, now that we understand a little bit of the principles of befriending your fear, what can you do? How can you use this? How can you put this principle into place in these tough times right now when clients come to you with their fears, right? And by the way, if you want to just type in what are some of the fears that clients have come to you with so far, that would be great. So what do you do? Well, when I teach the full Befriend Your Fear process in Sacred Depths coach training, we go through all the 4 levels of learning and transformation. We go through how to access it on the mental level of learning and transformation, and then how do you really connect with it from that soul level, from that heart level, and then the soul level and the body level. We really need to activate all of those 4 levels of learning and transformation for like the full befriending, but that would take me 2 hours to explain today, the process with all of that. So we're going to stay mainly on the mental level, but it's going to help a lot. Oh, and people are listing some of their fears, that they can't have their weekly art group, that the markets are going to fall. She's not going to be able to date. Yes, I've heard that also. No income, can't make payments, relatives dying. Yeah, no food. Yeah, a lot, right? So there's so much. Okay, so what do you do? Number one, you guys probably all know step number one here, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's so important. Validate, acknowledge, and honor what is, right? This is how to not bypass. Validate the fear. Acknowledge the fear. Well, I shouldn't say validate, but validate the person's feelings, right? Acknowledge that this is so hard. Acknowledge how, that it feels so hard, and honor your client for going through this. It will help create a stronger container to then go and do some of the deeper work around the fear. If you don't acknowledge and honor what is, if you don't acknowledge and honor your client for having the fear, then you're in that bypassing place and you can't work with it, right? So that's number one. Number two, create awareness. So one of the things that I've been sharing with a lot of clients and groups over this last week is, so I'm a Harry Potter fan. So if you guys are Harry Potter fans, you'll get this metaphor. If not, I'll explain it to you. I really see the pandemic as like a Bogart. I think that's how they're pronounced in Harry Potter. So if you guys that know this, know Harry Potter, you know that the Bogarts are like these kind of like scary monster things that they look different to each person that sees them, to each person that experiences them, and they mirror each individual person's biggest fear, right? Yeah, Amelia Gryffindor. So the Bogarts show up differently for everyone. They mirror each person's individual, whatever their personal fear is. See, we have a lot of Harry Potter fans here. That's what the pandemic is. And what I mean by that is whatever fears, I should say 99% of the time, whatever fears are coming up for you or coming up for your clients, they're about the pandemic, but they're also not. Or I should say, whatever the fear is, it was there before the pandemic, either above the surface or below the surface, but the pandemic is amplifying the fear. I'm going to say this again. The pandemic is amplifying whatever fear that was there beforehand, whether it was conscious or unconscious. So, for example, if you or a client is scared, your biggest fear is that your business is going to fall apart, I would be willing to bet a lot of money that fear was there before the pandemic. If your biggest fear, like mine, is that a loved one is going to pass, and, and you're so far away, I guarantee you it was there in a different way or in the same way before the pandemic. It's amplified right now. If your biggest fear is that your kids are not going to learn anything the rest of the year and not be able to move on to the next grade or, whatever it is, I guarantee you that was there before the pandemic in one way or another. Right? I can see you guys are with me with this. So when you're working with your clients, I want you to hold this wisdom, if it resonates for you, top of mind, right? It's so important. And I want you to create awareness, co-create awareness with your client on this. Just helping to make this connection for your client about the fear is massive. it's such a big gift, because once they start to see the connection, we've already started to befriend it, right? It's, we can see, okay, yes, there's this and this and this that's true because of the pandemic, but then there's this and this and this that aren't true. Like, this has just been underlying fear all this time, right? So let's do a little bit of personal work on this right now. What is your biggest fear that the pandemic is bringing up? And just take a moment and jot that down for yourself. What's your biggest fear that the pandemic is bringing up? Take a moment, write that down. And you can also, I'd love for you, so you guys have already been sharing your fears, but if you want to share some more, that's great. Now, next question, considering this Bogart situation that we've been talking about, right? The amplifying of what already was beforehand. How is this biggest fear right now related to fears that were present for you before the pandemic started, right? This is for your own personal work right now. I want you to journal on it. Whatever the fear is now, how is it related to what was there before? It may not be exactly what was there before, but, it might be a little bit of a tweak to it, but make that connection. Yeah, my children will suffer. 0 alone time. Yeah, dying. Societal chaos. Yeah. Our next question I want you guys to think about is this fear that you are seeing, that you can see was there in one way or another before the pandemic. How has this been a lifelong theme for you? How has this been, in one way or another, a lifelong theme for you, this fear? Even if it's about your kids, I am willing to bet that it's been lifelong since even before your kids, but it's been in a different form, right? So just take a moment and note that for yourself. How has this actually been something you've been working on, or that's been present for you your entire life, or most of your entire life? Losing freedoms, yeah. Loss of control, freedom, yeah. Yeah. And then last question on this for right now. Now that you can kind of see this fear, a little bit more, and how it's been working, and how it's been hopefully a theme in your life, what's the opportunity around this fear that the pandemic is presenting for you? What's the opportunity around this fear that the pandemic is presenting? It's about trusting yourself, Jennifer is saying. Yeah. Oh, Chrissy, good. I'm so glad you're liking this. Yeah. Involved, being isolated. Yeah. So then what's that opportunity that the fear is presenting? I already know, because I know you so well, Inval. I know a little bit for you and some of the things that you've shared with me recently. You're doing so much to connect with others right now. It's incredible. All right. I feel like somebody had a question. I think it was Inval's. I want to just make sure I answer it, if I can find it in the comments here. About phrasing. I think it was like, so how do you phrase this? Let me know if I'm answering your question, Inbal, but I would just phrase it the way that I did here with you guys. I mean, you don't have to mention the Bogart if it's your client isn't a Harry Potter fan, but I would say, what I'm seeing, or what I've really been seeing, is that this pandemic is acting like an amplifier or for all of those fears that were there beforehand, either above the surface or below the surface. Would you be willing to take a look at that with this fear that we're talking about? Would you be open to exploring it? Okay. All right, it's 2:45 and I still have so much to share, so I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to read all of these comments later. I just want you guys to know. There's a next piece to befriending the fear process. This is where we start to go to really befriend the fear and go from the mental level of learning and processing that we've been focusing so far on, to go into those other levels, the heart level, the soul level, the body level, to really deeply make friends with the fear and connect with the fear. We're not going to do that today. But I just want you to know there's a lot more that you can do once you've started opening up and exploring the fear. The other thing that I want to make sure that I mention, because this is really important, we talk about this a lot in Sacred Depths coach training, is that there's a difference between a breakthrough and a transformation. In the coaching industry, breakthroughs tend to be king. It's like, oh, we got breakthrough. Breakthroughs are awesome. I love co-creating breakthroughs with clients, right? But there's a difference between a breakthrough and a transformation. And in my book, a transformation is actually way more important than a breakthrough. A breakthrough is when we support a client to become aware of a new piece of important information or a new awareness for themselves, right? So hopefully in just the questions I just asked you, some breakthroughs happening, right? New pieces of awareness, or even something that you were aware of before, but it's like staring you in the face right now, like you're getting it in a new and deeper way. We want to create breakthroughs. But what I'm really interested in when I train coaches to support their clients is creating the transformation. Transformation is real and long-lasting change, right? Transformation is when you take the breakthroughs that you've co-created with clients and you support your clients to persistently and consistently apply those breakthroughs and go deeper with those breakthroughs to create the real and long-lasting change. So everything I just shared with you, I want you to think about it as the first step. It's the breakthrough. It's awesome. It will help so much in this time, but we want to create the transformations. The last thing I'm going to say on this piece, befriending fear right now, since there's so much else I want to share with you guys, is that I want you to understand that this pandemic right now is not only a moment for us to support our clients with the particular fears that are coming up for them, it's also a moment for us to teach our clients how to build resilience to be able to hold their fears in life and move forward anyway. I'm going to say that again. It is a moment for us to teach our clients how to build resilience, to be able to hold their fears in life and move forward anyway. So as we help our clients with these particular fears, we're teaching them resilience. I always say to my clients and my coach training students that what we do in our coaching sessions, what we do with our clients is about the thing, right? Like the content that we're talking about, but what we bring into the container with the clients is supporting them for new, improved, lifelong patterns and dynamics. Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about beliefs. Just briefly. We've already started talking about beliefs, even in talking about fears. Beliefs can be very related to fears, but they can also be different. And sometimes we want to not only work on the fear with our clients, but we want to work on the beliefs with our clients. Here's the first important piece to know about that, though. Do not work on the beliefs with your clients unless you have first done some kind of honoring acknowledging or befriending of the fears first. Why? Because if you move straight to rewiring negative thought patterns when somebody is in fear, back to what we were talking about before, bypassing, right? Ignoring. It's not going to work. The belief work is not going to work. So after you've done some of the befriend your fear work, you can start to work with your client's beliefs. Why do we want to work with their beliefs to rewire their beliefs? I know it's obvious, but I'll just say, we want to honor the fears, we want to befriend the fears, but then we want to support our clients to have the healthiest beliefs possible for them so that they can move forward and do the things that they need to do, keep themselves healthy, all the things, right? Here's some examples of beliefs that might come up for your clients that you might want to be working on them with. My child will never learn how to read. That's one of mine. I'll just be honest, my kindergartner and homeschooling right now, we're having some trouble, right? But, just to let you guys know, there's always beliefs underneath beliefs underneath beliefs. My belief, my kindergartner is never going to learn how to read. The belief underneath that is that I suck at teaching my kids. But there's even a belief underneath that, which is that even though I know Yael is like so smart and bright, there's a part of me that's scared that she's not, right? That's a belief that is being amplified and magnified in this moment for me right now. The belief that people won't be able to pay me. It's a fear, but it's also a belief. Does that make sense, you guys? The belief that the world is coming to an end. It's a fear. I'm scared the world is coming to an end, but then there's also this belief. I believe the world is coming to an end. I don't have enough time to get everything done. Belief, right? So once we have looked at the fears that are related, then we can start to really work on the rewiring part. And so let me just ask you guys now and see if you can do this subtle work of separating the fear from the belief. What's like one of your top limiting beliefs right now? It might be related to your fear, but write it down as a belief, right? So instead of like, I'm scared that my business is going to fall apart, the belief is my business is going to fall apart. Okay. And just like I kind of broke down my child will never learn how to read, see if you can even find, I bet you there's a belief underneath the belief, right? So if the belief is I'm going to have to close my business doors forever, the belief underneath that is that my clients aren't going to want to pay me, or I'm not going to be able to find any other clients or whatever it is. Hi, Anasuya. I believe I can't count on any income. Yeah. What are some other beliefs? Nobody will have money to pay me. Joni's saying. Jamie is saying, there's a lot here. I don't think this is a belief. Yes, and Jamie, we will have a call sometime. I need to talk to you about that. I just can't do it all. Yep, Rose is saying, I believe the government is fundamentally corrupt. So a lot of people believe that right now. My work isn't important right now. Okay, good. Cho is saying that my business will be considered need versus necessary. Yeah, people expect free or comp services. My work isn't important right now. Okay. So you want to first just help your client identify the belief. And just take a moment with your kind of coach hat on, facilitator hat, support hat on. What is the value of even just helping a client see the difference between the fear versus this is a belief? There's a subtle difference there. What's the difference between seeing the fear and then naming the belief? Okay, so there's many different ways that we can work to rewire these limiting beliefs. Because really what they are is negative thought patterns, right? Again, I'm sure you guys see from your beliefs, none of them are new. They are patterns from before, right? So we want to actually, when we work with beliefs, whereas fear is a lot about the heart and the soul and the body, and the feeling, beliefs are about the mind. That's why I say rewiring. They are literally grooved thoughts, right? For those of you that know about neuroscience, they're grooved into the mind. And so we want to rewire. If we can support our clients to rewire the neural pathways, they can have different beliefs. There's lots of different ways to work with beliefs. And what I said before about the difference between a breakthrough and a transformation applies here. I want to just give you one way that you can, for yourself, work with beliefs and with your clients. It's an exercise that's called Even Though Nevertheless. It's a favorite exercise of mine. So the principle behind Even Though Nevertheless is that we're not going to pretend, whatever is true, we're not going to pretend that it's not true, right? Because any limiting belief that we have, there may be pieces in it that hold some truth. And if we deny it, we're back to all of the bypassing stuff, and there's no way we can rewire, right? So we're going to honor what might be true while at the same time opening up the pathway for some new thoughts, some new ideas, some new beliefs. So the way Even Though Nevertheless works is you take whatever your belief is. I'll take somebody's here. So Wendy's saying that my business will not come back. Let's use that one because I think it's really common, right? So let's say for Wendy, the belief even underneath that is that people aren't willing to pay for my services right now, right? So, and even though nevertheless, you would want to have your clients say it and write it out, you'd want to have them do a bunch of these. It might sound something like this. Even though the economy isn't doing so well right now, nevertheless, the people that need me will find a way to my services. Even though there are some clients who may not be able to come back and pay me for a while, nevertheless, there are other existing clients or new clients that will be able to pay me. Even though there are some people that consider the work that I do as non-essential, nevertheless, I know that it is essential for this kind of person and this kind of person and this kind of person, right? So we take, basically what Even Though Nevertheless is doing is taking the extreme, right? Because when we're stuck in the neural pathways of a limiting belief, it is like extreme. This is never going to happen, blah, blah, right? Like it's like utter failure. We're taking it out of the extreme and we're moving it into reality, right? Yes, it is true that there are some people that may not. And nevertheless, it is also true, right? Like, so for me, even though Yael is having trouble reading, nevertheless, I know that she's a bright kid and she can. Even though Yael is having trouble learning how to read, nevertheless, I'm going to sit down with her every day and we're going to make some progress. Even though Yael is having trouble learning how to read, nevertheless, I can get her tested and see where she needs some help, right? What do you guys think of Even Though Nevertheless? I'd love to hear. Actually, before you tell me what you think of it, let's practice it, right? Let's do a little bit of that work for you. So take your belief, use law of adaptation here. Oh, good. It looks like it's working for a lot of people, getting a lot of hearts on this. Good, good, good. So do a couple of even though neverthelesses on your belief. Let's see what comes through there. Yeah, that's exactly right, Chrissy, moving out of black and white thinking. Chrissy knows she's been in sacred depths. We go a lot deeper into this there. Okay, yeah, Amelia, don't forget about that exercise. All right. I'm going to say one more thing about beliefs or fears or all of this, and then we're going to move on to talking about grief for a little bit. Yeah, Christine, I remember from Sacred Depths, you loved even though nevertheless. Okay, so there's the one other piece before we move on to looking at grief that I want to say is that another tool that you can use for both fear and for limiting beliefs is supporting your client to connect on the spirit level of learning and transformation. Now, let me just say something about this in case you're not woo-woo. When I say the spiritual or spirit level of learning and transformation, I do not mean necessarily God or goddess or woo-woo spirit or whatever it is. It could be if that's what resonates with your client. But when I say the spirit level of learning and transformation, what I actually mean is to support your client to connect into something that they believe is bigger than they are, that has even more infinite wisdom. So it could be their higher wisdom. It could be their intuition. It could be God. It could be earth energy. It could be the cycles. It could be goddess, right? Whatever it is for them. But when you can help a client tap into this spirit level of learning and transformation, they can tap into a wisdom that transcends the limiting belief. And it also activates the feeling of trust. Does that make sense? Give me some hearts and likes if you guys are with me on this, if that makes sense to you. When you can support a client to connect in, okay, good, you guys are getting it, to that spirit level of learning and transformation, they can transcend limiting beliefs, they can get to a higher wisdom, and it also cultivates trust. All right, awesome. So, in Sacred Depths, I teach lots of different ways to connect into that spirit level. I'm going to move on to grief right now, but I want you guys to just think about that one. All right, let me check and see what time it is. I had a feeling we were going to go over today. I said 90 minutes. It's 3:00. Okay, hopefully I'm going to keep to time here. Okay, so I will speak briefly also on grief. All these things, very brief, like I said in the beginning, but just stuff for you to go and run with. There are going to be a lot of clients that come to you that are in their grief right now. It might be grief because they have a loved one that's sick or that's passed, right? It might be grief that they've had to, make shifts in their work. I'm experiencing right now just grief for the world, right? Like just real heartache for what's happening in the world and for the ways, and I'll just insert my opinion in here. I don't mean to get political, but just for that our leadership, governmental leadership aren't showing up for us right now. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to think how many people are going to be impacted by this, right? So there's going to be grief. And a big mistake that practitioners make is that they don't create enough space for the grief to be expressed. They don't create enough space and sacred space. And this is one of the reasons why I speak about holding a tight and sacred container with clients, right? Because we need that in order for there to be the vulnerability for the grief to be expressed, right? When we don't make space for grief, it festers. It gets put in the shadows. It creates other problems. It holds us back. We lose our energy. We self-sabotage. We don't feel good. And so it is so vital, so vital that we create and hold that space for our clients to feel their grief and to express their grief. When they can express it, then it's flowing and it doesn't fester. It can move the way energy moves. Now, there may be a lot, right? It may not all be done in one sitting, but it needs to be done. So a lot of practitioners have a lot of trouble creating a really powerful space for grief to not only be expressed, but for grief to literally be moved through the body, through and out. And there are a lot of reasons why practitioners have difficulties with this, and I want to just name some and see if, any apply to you. Number one, because much of culture tells us that it's not acceptable, that grief is actually not acceptable, that love and light are better, right? A lot of times when people are, grieving a lot, it's not acceptable in the office. It's not, it's just culture tells us that it's not, right? Another reason why practitioners can have a lot of trouble creating the space for their clients to see their grief, to own their grief, to express their grief, and to let it flow like an energy is because they haven't worked with their own grief. When we as leaders and practitioners and guides push our own grief into the shadows, we cannot hold it for others. We don't have a strong enough container. We're scared of it. We're triggered by it. We get scared that the client's grief will, if we create space for it, that it might be endless or out of control, or that we've hurt them in some way, all the things, right? So we want, again, remember I started, those of you that have been there from the beginning of this live, I said to do this deep work that we're talking about today, we have to do our inner work. We have to do our inner work, right? Okay. So, all that being said, how do you hold the space for the grief to be seen and owned and expressed, and then to flow, to really flow? We want it to flow through, like I said before, like energy. Again, understand everything that I'm sharing with you today. Just by me, creating this awareness for ourselves or remembering this for ourselves is going to help us with our clients and then doing our own inner work. Number two, create that sacred container that I've been talking about. In the Sacred Depths Coach training, we go through all the ways to create these sacred and tight containers. With clients, it's so important. Next piece, validate the grief and give permission. It may seem obvious considering everything that we've been talking about, but it's really important, right? We want to validate it. We want to let our client know that there is nothing wrong with her for feeling this grief. That it is, of course, she's feeling it. It is normal to feel the grief in this situation. We want her to feel seen and loved, right? Like what we were talking about earlier in the grief, honored in the grief. And we want to give her permission to feel it thoroughly and fully and all the way through. One of the ways that I sometimes will give permission, right, and especially right now, like in the pandemic, we'll focus it on that since that's what this live is about. I do what I did with all of you a few minutes ago. I share that I'm feeling the grief, right? It doesn't make me weak or not equipped just because I'm feeling the grief, right? And a lot of practitioners feel like they have to hide that. And it's not true, right? So we want to give permission here. After we validate and give permission, then sometimes I want to say, so we do this in levels, right? So like a lot of what I'm giving you guys today is kind of like the basic level. Those of you that are in Sacred Depths know we go like so deep and so advanced. Even just these basics are going to help so much, right? So even just to do the piece that I just said, validate and give permission, that can help the client so much, at least start to own more of the grief and feel the validation in it so that they can really feel it, they can express it more, right? Now, if you are a more advanced practitioner, you can't, from there, what you want to do is move out of the mental level of learning and transformation. So, how do I want to say this? When we're in our head, when we're thinking important and very smart thoughts, which is great, it cuts the flow of being in our bodies and our hearts. And being in our bodies and in our hearts is where we need to be if we want to really be in the full expression of moving through the grief. Does that make sense, you guys? The thinking, even if it's great thoughts and beautiful thoughts, is going to pause the flow of the emotion. Sometimes another mistake that practitioners can make sometimes is that a client will present to them with grief, and what they'll do is they'll move the client to breathe, right? Like, let's breathe, like that kind of thing. Breathing is great for anxiety because breathing, unless it's ecstatic breathing, but just like the normal, like let's take some breaths, that's a containment strategy. That's a containing strategy. We want that for something like anxiety, right? Because anxiety spirals out of control. We want to contain it through the breath. But if we want to support a client to move through grief, we actually don't want to ask them to breathe because it's going to contain it even more. And what we want to do is open up the flow. So even sometimes like putting a hand on your heart can sometimes it can help open the flow, but it depends on the tone and the energy, right? Sometimes it can also dampen the flow. So instead of doing all of that, we want to move into the heart and body levels. Again, I want to say, for those of you that are in Sacred Depths or have been in Sacred Depths, move into those body levels. If you're a seasoned practitioner, if you're not, we'll just save this. We'll table this for another time. But, you want to move them into their heart and into their bodies. You can do this by, making sound with them to start to express the grief. You can do this by helping them move, right? Again, because expressing grief is about the flow, opening up the flow, right? In both the facilitator training and Sacred Depths, we do a lot of modeling on this. Some of you guys might know what I mean, right? Like even traditionally in so many religious traditions, there's actually a tradition of grieving, and it's about flow, like people move in it. That's what creates it, right? Now, as an aside, we're not going to get too much into this today, but I just want to say the other thing right now that is in jeopardy of being put in shadow along with grief is anger. We want to make sure as practitioners that we are creating safe and sacred space for our clients to feel and express and let the anger flow if that is coming up for them. You guys with me on this? Give me some hearts and likes if you get what I mean here. This is so important because just like grief, when we put anger in shadow or when we block the flow of anger or when we try to tamper it, it festers. And we actually need anger right now. We actually need some of it. Hopefully you guys know what I mean by that, right? Like healthy anger helps create action. It's fire. It's focused, right? So we want to also create the space for our clients to get in touch with the life force that is available behind aligned anger. Yeah, I can see you guys are with me on this. Good. Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit of inner work on this right now. I'm going to keep it on the mental level of learning and transformation mostly, but just so you guys can, tune in a little bit more here, I want you to make a note of what is there grief at all in the field for you? And what is it that you are really grieving or wanting? Maybe you haven't been allowing yourself to really be with it, but what is causing your heart to break right now? And take a moment and actually don't type it in. Just notice it right now. Like, what is it that's really causing your heart to break right now? Let's take a moment with it. Just be with it. So those of you that have a grief practice, I do want you to make space and time for yourself over the next few days. Even if you don't already have a practice, for now, even though we're not getting into the instructions for how to really move it into the heart and body level, play with this for yourself, okay? Now, once the energy has been opened to be expressed and to flow, whether it's for the grief or the anger, and there has been a good flow of it, then your client is actually in a beautiful position to either see how they can be of service right now or what kind of action they want to take right now. I just kind of throw that in there because after that energy moves and flows, there's gonna be they may want to sit for a bit, but there may be some action there that is going to empower them. Okay, I know we're moving quickly, but let's move along. There's still a couple pieces that I want to make sure we touch today. I wanted to talk about some practical issues next during this pandemic. So what I mean by practical issues isn't like social distancing and wash your hands and all of that, although all of those things are very, very, very important. But what I mean are, no matter who you're working with, no matter in what capacity you're working with someone, what the topic is, group or class or, one-on-one, whatever it is, I want to invite you to make space at the beginning of the session, even if you're going to end up talking about business strategy in the session or, relationship issue, whatever it is. I really want to encourage you and invite you to make at least some space in the beginning of the session right now for a simple, how are you, right? It is always important. It's always important, but especially right now, we just want to create space for people to express where they're at and to open up the conversation, right? And anyway, it's going to impact more likely whatever the session is going to be about. So I've been doing this in all of the classes I'm teaching too, even though I have curriculum that I'm teaching on coaching strategies, facilitation strategies, whatever I'm doing this week. And I will do this for a while. I'm making space for us to be together in what is first, right? That's a first practical issue. Next is for each of my one-on-one clients, and I'm actually doing this in my groups too, I'm asking, what are you doing to take care of your soul and your psyche and your nervous system right now, right? Even if, again, we go off into other conversations after that, I feel that those of us that are practitioners, that are coaches, that are healers, that are transformational leaders, it is actually a part of our responsibility to open up conversation with our clients on how are they taking care of their souls right now, their psyches, their nervous systems. Inbal is asking, would you do that check-in before or after the grounding? Yeah, so just so you guys that aren't familiar with my work, I oftentimes teach to do a grounding at the beginning of a session. I would do it after the grounding. So do the grounding, get them centered, ask how they are, and then really, like for me, the next question I've been asking is what are you doing to really take care of your soul and your psyche and your nervous system. Another practical issue that I want to make sure I mention is, now I work a lot with my one-on-one clients and my group clients. Most are business owners, or almost all are business owners or would like to become business owners. And so, but I think this applies to whatever you're supporting your clients with. I've been bringing up the issue of flexibility, and where are the places in their life or their business or their routines or their parenting or their whatever, keeping up with the cleaning of their house, that they really need to be flexible with right now or shift. Again, practical piece, but it's really important, right? So again, like for me, for example, just with my business, I've had to have a lot of flexibility in this moment. I've changed all of my marketing plans. I've canceled retreats, all of the things. And the shifting of my marketing plans for the spring affect everything for the rest of the year. My whole thing had to change. It took me a moment to get reoriented around that. But the understanding that now is a moment for flexibility really helped, and everything is going to be that much more successful and productive, because of that. Yeah, Elizabeth, this live will be, available in replay. So flexibility. Now. Flexibility can be a hard thing for some of us, especially if you're a Virgo type like me. I'm going to just toss this to you. I'm actually going to do a full course on this later in the spring, but I just want to toss this to you because it relates to flexibility. It relates to everything in life. It's a little tip that can help if you or your clients are having a lot of trouble going with the flow of all of the changes in life right now. And that is sharing with them and bringing them fully and deeply and lovingly into the wisdom of the cycles and the rhythms. Into the wisdom of the cycles and the rhythms. So when we are inflexible, it is because we are stuck. One of the reasons is because we are stuck in the frame of mind or the limiting belief that there is only one season. There's only one season. However you want to define that season, there is only productivity. There is only moving in this direction. There is only more and more, and should not be less, or whatever it is. But all we have to do is look to nature to see that there are moments for spring and summer, and more and lots and doing how we've always done. And then there are other moments for slowing down and letting go, or doing things differently, or at a different pace, or a different rhythm. Letting some things go and letting other things pop up because we've let other things fall away, right? So if you are like me and you are a student of the earth, a daughter of the earth, of the cycles, of the seasons, this is a beautiful and powerful and impactful moment to bring that in for your clients. One more just little practical issue is it could be really helpful right now to help clients come up with what I call an ideal schedule. Whether it's for their homeschooling, whether it's for their business, whether it's for anything, what is their schedule? Because schedules have changed, right? Like even with me, my supplement, like I'm off of my supplement schedule because timing is off. I need to get back to like an ideal schedule for that, right? So really supporting clients to get clear on what is the schedule and getting out of pajamas. For most of us, I think that's a positive thing. Okay. All right, let me just check what time it is so I can see. Okay, it's almost 3:30, so I'm going to just say a few more things. I want to talk for a few minutes. We've spoken so much, and hopefully I've given a lot of good ideas on the fear pieces, the grief, the limiting beliefs, anger, like all the things. But I want to talk specifically about you if you are someone who is holding a lot of space for other people. All the things we've been talking about today, right? If you've got a lot of clients that you're holding space for, your family, your friends, your community, if you're a medical doctor, whatever it is, we're holding, I started this off by saying this is a moment for us leaders to rise, right? And of course, if we're in our best practices, we're not taking on all of the stuff of our clients. But even when we've got great practices in place, like I do, we're still holding, right? We're still holding a lot. And some of my clients have mentioned to me that they're feeling a little burnt out, that they're feeling tired because of it, and they're feeling their client stuff. If this is you, I want to remind you to put it down. We need to cleanse ourselves, either after every client session or at the end of the day. We need to clear ourselves. We need to, or just say that we're putting it down, or sage ourselves, or take a bath, or dance, or do something so that we are not continuing to hold, like we're not taking it on and on and on, right? This is so important for your health, and it's important so that you can continue to serve those that you serve. So if you're hearing this from me and you know this, don't just be like, yeah, Joanna. I want you to really think like, what are the new practices around this that you need to put in place right now? We need to be taking exquisite care of ourselves. Kathy's saying she does a spiritual bath. I love it. Raven is asking a question. Let me see if I can expand your comment, Raven. I'm having some trouble doing that. Any suggestions about doing this work with folks who we're only speaking with once? That's such a good question. Obviously, if you're only speaking with somebody once, you can only get to the breakthroughs that I was talking about before, not the transformation. That's one thing. And also, one-time thing. You can create a very, very strong container, but obviously it's not going to be as strong, as tight as if it's ongoing work. But you can still do like, at least keep it on the mental level of learning, the befriend the fear process. Any of the processes I shared, I wouldn't do, depending on how long the session is, I wouldn't do the grief unless you had like a good, at least, 75, 90 minutes at least. But any of the other pieces, especially if you're not moving into the body level, the soul level, the spirit level, you can move through this. And Raven, if you have any additional questions, let me know. Okay, I know we're at time. Before we wrap for today, I want to just ask you guys 2 things for integration for you. So one thing is, what's going to be your kind of guiding light belief as you move forward through this pandemic? Take a moment, write that down. You may or may not know it fully yet, but start to formulate that. What's, if you were going to have a guiding light that was really leading the way for you through this pandemic, and it may change as the pandemic evolves, what is it? I'd love for you to write it down and share. I am going to read through all of the comments, I promise. What is that guiding light going to be for you? And then the second question is, aside from, I gave so many details today and pieces, aside from all the little pieces and details, what's your big takeaway from our call, or live, from this Facebook Live, I should say? What are you really taking away for yourself? It might be similar to your guiding light belief. These are so beautiful. I can only do my best in the moment, and that's enough. Trust, let go of that. Oh, so much wisdom coming through. This is my time to be seen and lead. All right, you guys. Well, I'm just sending so much love to all of you. I know so many of you on this call. I'm sending light love to you. Hey, Nicole. I don't know a lot of you that are on right now. I'm sending so much love to you. Tamra, Kathy. Oh gosh, these are all so beautiful. And I'm here, so please connect in with me. Let me know how you're doing. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Oh, Jennifer and Mark, you guys are here. Every crisis brings a healing. I love that. All is well. Kimberly is saying such an opportunity to support. It really is. It really, really is. Gloria, it's time to step into your leadership. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. We will get through this and become stronger and closer and more aware of what's important. From Justine, yes, yes. Joni, yes, you do have so much to offer in this moment. All right, I love you guys so much. Just thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing all of the work that you're doing in the world. I'm just so grateful that you are. I'll talk to you guys soon. And I'm loving all the love too. Thank you for all the love. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.